This is Mark Karadimos from MATHguide.com. Today we're going to take a look at how to solve a special quadratic equation. This is one that could possibly come up on the PARCC exam, and it's of this form. Let's put a 5x minus 3 quantity squared, and it's going to be equal to 13x, forgot the x there, minus 8. Alright, this is a special form of the quadratic, because we have a square here. In order to solve this, and you could solve this graphically by graphing both sides and finding the point of intersection, but I'm going to actually do this algebraically. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square this. So I'm not going to show the box, but I'm going to multiply this with a multiplication table. But of course I know that that would be 25x squared. I know that I'm going to get a 15x and another 15x. And I know I'm going to get a negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. But if someone were to use a multiplication table, multiply 5x minus 3 times 5x minus 3, that's what it means to square it, that's what you get. So in order for us to solve this quadratic equation, we need a 0 on one side. So I'm going to subtract 13x, and that'll cancel that. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. To get rid of the negative 8, I'm going to add 8. And again, whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do the other side of the equation. So let's see, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 25x squared minus 43x plus 17 is equal to 0. So we had to get a 0 here because we need to use the quadratic formula, and in order to use the quadratic formula you have to have a 0 here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is plop these values into the quadratic formula, and remember that our A value is 25, our B value is negative 43, and the C value is 17. So I'm going to throw those values in the quadratic formula. Now if you remember the quadratic formula, it's equal to, x is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of the quantity b squared minus 4ac. You have to extend the square root sign, and that's going to all be over 2 times a. It's a very complicated looking formula, but after a while you get used to cleaning these things up. Alright, anyway, I'm going to put in the b value goes here and here. Let's see, is he barely able to squeeze that in. And then we got an a value, which is 25, goes there and there. And then finally the c value, which is 17. Alright, so we take the opposite. Let's see, we're going to clean up the square root. So if I take 43 and square it, I get 1849. Did that work a little earlier? Let's see, I multiply that together, I get 1700. And it's all over 50. Alright, next step, I'm going to clean out underneath the square root sign. So I'm going to do that. I'm bringing my work right up here because I need a lot more room. So I'm going to get 43 plus or minus, let's see, I subtract that, I'm going to get 149. And that's going to be all over 50. Alright, well I took the square root of 149 earlier and I get 12.2. So it's 43 plus or minus 12.2 all over 50. Alright, so now what we're going to do is do two different problems here. So I'm going to do a positive variety, and I'm also going to do the negative variety. So in other words, if I add them, I'm going to get 55.2 I still have to divide that by 50. But if I subtract these, I'm going to get 30.8. Still have to divide it by 50. So that's how you handle that plus or minus. One way you add, still have to divide by 50, and then the other way you subtract. You get 30.8. Got to divide it by 50. So in either case, you're dividing by 50. All right, now I'm putting these little wavy marks because now I'm going to divide. And well, you know, technically, when I took the square root, it wasn't exactly 12.2, so it was actually an approximation right at that point. All right, so I'm going to divide these two right here, and I get around very close to 1.1. All right, and I divide these, I'm going to get 0.6 approximately. And there you have it. I have my two answers. So sometimes you write these in set notation. You could say one answer is 0.6 and the other answer is 1.1. Now this is not an ordered pair. These are just both of the solutions within written in set notation. And there you have it. So bottom line, just to review it, you had to clean up this formula because it was in a very strange form. I should say you have to clean up the equation. It's not a formula. But you have to clean this up by squaring it, getting a 0 on one side. And once you have a 0 on one side, it's very simple use of the quadratic equation. And it's just plug in the numbers where they belong, and you play cleanup, and you get your two answers. And there you have it. So this is the special case of the quadratic equation, and this could possibly come up on the PARCC exam. Alright, so make sure you go back to MATHguide.com, check out our interactive quizzes, our videos, and text lessons. Take care.